And then in 2016, I had some army friends who did a race called Marathon des Sables. They did really well, finished top 300. And then when they got back, we were in the pub and I bet them that I could finish higher up than they did. 8 months later, I did the race and ended up being the first ever non-Moroccan man to ever finish on the podium.
What?
What the Today's guest is an ultra marathon runner and his name is Tom. I shall call you Ultra Tom. Is that okay? Just because I'll get confused with Tom.
Perfect.
Welcome, Ultra Tom.
Thank you very much.
You look very ultra to my eyes.
What does that look like?
You look like you could just run fucking ages.
That's pretty much it.
So that cool. What a great episode.
Thanks very much, everyone.
I run for fucking ages. What's the difference between a marathon and ultra marathon then?
So an ultra marathon is just anything that's longer than a marathon. So it could be 50 kilometers, it could be 500 kilometers. It's pretty vague, but it's just a really, really long way.
Struggling with the kilometers things here, Tom.
Do you want it in miles?
So the marathon is 26.2 miles. What's that in kms?
42?
Yeah. On the nose.
Wrong Tom is answering these questions.
42.2.
42.2. So if I did 42.3, I could class myself as an ultra marathon runner.
Let's do it.
Fuck no.
I've just heard you saying that you're going to do it.
Joe, what is the longest, first of all, forget distance, what is the longest uninterrupted run you've ever done?
Longest uninterrupted. So just constant.
Yeah, uninterrupted.
Uninterrupted. Yeah, I thought you meant like by chat or something.
Oh, I see.
With someone.
Without stopping running or turning round.
I used to run home from school with my backpack and my books in it. And I'd go the back routes because I didn't want people to see me. So it was undulating. So from the school to home, I'd say it's about a mile and a half. That's as. Look, why are you laughing?
What about in the last 5 years?
Not anywhere near that. Uninterrupted?
Yeah.
No, nowhere near that. I'd say my longest uninterrupted run would be somewhere between 60 and 100 metres. And that's at a push. I'm sorry. But you're a keen runner, aren't you, Tom?
I love to run, yeah.
Like, so you're quite excited to have Ultra Tom here.
I'm super excited by the visit of
Do you want to,
Ultra Tom.
like, do some comparisons to what you've done? What's the longest you've ever run, Tom?
I have run a marathon, but Ultra is not...
A whole one?
Yeah. That's why I described it as a marathon.
Okay.
Rather than a half marathon.
Yeah.
But as Ultra Tom will no doubt tell us, there's a different mindset, Tom, isn't there, with ultra distance running? And I think for your average runner who might do a long run on a weekend of maybe, 12, 13 miles, something like that, there is an astonishment at the distance that you guys run because it is so far. It's so far beyond. It's almost, Joe, like a different sport, I think.
Yeah, I think you do end up going a seriously long way. And when you sort of break it down, and if I'm ever in the car sort of driving to London and you see, you've got 100 miles left to do, you think, I have to race this.
So you drive to London?
Not today.
Oh, right.
I didn't run either.
Oh, fuck.
But I raced 2 weeks ago 100 miles in the Alps.
Right, okay. I need to rewind this slightly. When did you do your first marathon? What age?
I've never done a marathon. I went from 0 to incredibly stupid very quickly.
What? So did you do athletics at school or something?
I did, but I was far more... None of my friends were good runners. My friends were good rugby players, hockey players, so I ended up doing far more team sports because, that was what I enjoyed more, but I ended up... I wanted to be good at the team sports, but I was always better in the last 10 minutes than anyone else just because I wasn't tired. And I imagine that's a similar story for you.
Joe's generally not on the pitch for the last 10 minutes because he's been subbed off.
It's fucking bollocks. You liar. Just do a little bit of research. I'm usually on the pitch for the last 10 minutes, having done fuck all for the previous 70. I played my best rugby in the last 10, actually, Tom. Thank you. I came in here so positive today and not aggressive, and you've flipped this. Right, calm. Woosah.
Deep breaths.
So you went from team sports that you weren't really good at until the last 10 minutes. Any cross-country? Like, did you go... Were you forced to do cross-country, or is it something you went, oh, I like the sound of that?
Yeah, I guess we were forced to do it at school, and I always ended up doing better than I ever thought that I would. But yeah, it just wasn't like the only reason I ran was for sports. I wouldn't think, I'm just going to go for a run because I want to go for a run. It was, I'll go for a run to keep fit, so I'm better when I go and play team sports. And I guess that then all changed when I was 18 and I joined the army. I went to Sandhurst, and then exactly.
You missed it.
What did you do? You just saluted. That was it.
Yeah.
So is that what is it that way?
You're doing the square salute versus the flat salute. Ultra Tom, which one is the correct British one? Which was the American one?
The American one is not that one. That's the British one. There you go. That's American.
So
That's
the American one is sort of flat, so we only see your little finger. The
Yeah.
British one is all 4 fingers plus thumb.
Have we asked this before of someone that is army, of why they do the salute?
Did we ask our submariner?
Submariner.
No, submariner.
I don't know why I chose to burp into it. I couldn't control that. It's something to do with so I haven't got a gun in my hand.
Is it?
Is it?
I don't know. I'm asking the guy.
Couldn't
that
your
went
other
to
hand hold the gun?
Sandhurst.
So you attract the attention with your salute, and then the other hand.
No. So what I'll do now is go. Please continue, Ultra Tom, because we're talking shit. You went to Sandhurst.
Yeah, so I joined the army after school and still played a little bit of rugby, played rugby for the army. But I was then getting to a point in my career where I couldn't rock up on a Monday morning with a black eye and a bloody nose. So I sort of switched a bit more to endurance sports. And then in 2016, I had some army friends who did a race called Marathon des Sables. That is a 250-kilometer multi-stage self-supported race. So you carry all your own food for 6 days across part of the Sahara Desert. And they did really well, finished top 300. And then when they got back, we were in the pub and I bet them that I could finish higher up than they did. So slightly hungover the next morning, I signed up to my first ever competitive race. And like 8 months later, I did the race and ended up being the first ever non-Moroccan man to ever finish on the podium.
What?
Having not...
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
You've gone from being in a pub with your mates going, yeah, well done on running, that was really good. I get the impression, I'm trying to picture myself at this pub, that you were kind of like, they'd come back all, not smug, but, we've just completed
Heroic.
it. We finished in the top 300. It's a great achievement. And then you kind of not really acknowledge that. You've just gone, yeah, well done. I bet I could beat you.
Pretty much. That's almost how it went.
Having never touched a marathon in
No.
your life,
No.
you just went, yeah. I'm interested, what possessed you to think you could beat them?
I think...
Was it an off-the-cuff sort of just...
very much.
Right.
Yeah, it was a classic, that was good, but I could do that. And you see it with everything. You're like, they're good, but yeah, I reckon I could. If I did that, I reckon I'd be okay.
Yeah, no, I get you do see that with a lot of things, like, I could pop more balls than you can in the pool, or
I could flip more beer mats.
yeah, or my dad could beat up your dad, that sort of thing. You don't ever see someone go, I can run a fucking 100 kilometres more than you, even though I've never done that before.
Yeah.
How casual you've just said, Tom, how casual is he just going, yeah.
But it's
well,
basic. It's running. Like you're just trying to put one foot in front of the other for as long
that's
as you can.
walking.
But quicker.
Also,
You want to finish early. The quicker you go, the easier it is.
I don't want to start. I don't care about finishing. I don't want to start.
can I go back to another aspect of the Marathon des Sables? Joe, the idea that you have to carry all your food for 6 days, how much food for you would you be carrying for 6 days?
I'd have a camel round my neck.
Just to eat?
Yeah, so I would have a dead camel.
Yeah.
And it would be the one that Bear Grylls used, where he hollowed it out, and then he slept in it during a sandstorm. But actually, that was bollocks because he just went down to the hotel.
Hotel down
That
the
was
road,
just there.
Premier Inn.
But I would get that camel. No, I'd get a fresh one. I'd hollow it out, and then, in fact, no, maybe I could use that. Maybe I'd hollow it out completely, stuff it with all
Snacks.
as well. 'Cause
Crisps.
I'd eat the meat of the camel, but then I need some condiments and stuff like some fig chutney.
Fig chutney.
Goes well with camel.
Yeah.
And but I'd also cut a hole in the hump, like so that I could have my head through it, and then I could, when I get tired, the camel
Use
takes
his
over.
hooves.
Yeah, so you know, like how you see the fancy dress where
Yeah.
someone's got so that the camel would run for me, and I think that's how what was it called? Miracle de Slabs. What's it called? Sable
You were very nearly there. Marathon de Sable.
Marathon de Sable. Do we know what that means?
Yes. Marathon of the Sands.
In Moroccan.
I think it's French.
Fuck. They speak French in Morocco.
Yep.
Fuck off, do they? Oh, this episode has everything, everything. Language,
Salutes.
salutes. That's fine. So you've done that. 8 months later, you've said, "I'm gonna beat you, guys." Not only did you beat them, you became the first non-Moroccan guy to finish on the podium. Did you just then have the itch? Don't mean crabs. Did you just then go, right, I want to get, what next?
Yeah, I think I didn't. I guess I went into it so naive, and I didn't really know what else you could do afterwards, and what possibilities and what options there were. And yeah, a bit of a yes man. And I was then invited to do some races in 2017 that
Can we ask him how
Yeah, that went
important it is?
really well. And I was still in the military at the time, and I think sort of just trying to balance running and military life was pretty difficult. And it's like the amount of hours that you needed to dedicate to running and to training, you couldn't do. And yeah, then 2018 went really well. Won a big race at the end of 2018, and then handed in my notice with the army, and yeah, then sort of turned professional in beginning of 2019.
I think at Ultra Tom, we need to describe to Joe a little bit more about the privations and the horrors of the Marathon des Sables. So let's talk about temperatures, extremes first of all.
Probably running in around, we're averaging like 40 to 45 degrees, which is pretty hot.
Celsius.
Yes.
Kelvin.
And yeah, and you've got to
You're
carry
naked.
everything. So no, I think you have to wear a t-shirt, or you have to wear a top. But
Oh, no pants.
I didn't wear pants. I just wore shorts.
Oh.
Did they have an
I
internal
pictured you
gusset?
with a
Yeah.
with anti-chafe section.
No, but I've built up a tolerance.
You've got calluses on your balls.
I've got calloused nuts.
I think they're sort of as close to that as you could get.
Wow. Why is there a huge urge in me that just wants you to put your nuts on the table? It's
Have a quick
completely-
examination.
Is there an example from nature that you can give us as an analogy of your testicles? Are we thinking about the sort of walnuts that might be served at Christmas? Are we talking about perhaps a bruised plum?
I would say something like a dog's paw.
What the fuck? Where did that come from? I've got a dog's paw nutsack. Dog's paws are lovely. I love getting my dog's paw and now every time I do that, I'm going to picture stroking Ultra Tom's nutsack. Oh, Jesus Christ. So you're in a vest, you're in a t-shirt.
I'm in a t-shirt and shorts.
How big's your bag?
20 litres, normal rucksack size.
What's in it?
Food, that's the biggest thing.
What sort of nitty gritty? Down to the nuts?
Yeah, nuts, because you have to have a certain amount of calories.
Yeah.
A minimum amount of calories there. Nuts are very calorific.
Yeah.
Freeze-dried food. It's like camping food. So it's lightweight, so you just add water to it. You can bring a stove or a heater, but I didn't because I thought, I want it to be as light as possible. So I ate cold, freeze-dried food, so sort of crunchy pasta and uncooked rice and things. That's pretty miserable.
So like a pot noodle without the boiling water.
Yeah. Imagine
Crunchy pot noodle.
Pot noodle. Pour some lukewarm water in, and then eat it.
Not
Quite fancy that, don't you?
not
After you-
fucking slightest. That
After you've run
sounds-
for 6 hours.
So when do you stop?
Yeah, you stop there's a set distance per day. There's a set course per day, so everyone stops. So it's basically a marathon a day, except for one day that's a double marathon.
Fucking hell.
What day does that fall on? Is that in the
fourth
middle?
day, yeah.
Right. And is that the one that you go, fuck, I've hit the wall today?
That was surprising. That was my favourite day, and it was the most I'd ever run in a week before I got to that stage. Then that was the longest run I'd ever done.
What?
But it's the quicker you have 48 hours to do the double marathon, so the quicker you do it, the more time you have to relax and recover in the shade because you're under a tent, a carpet that's been hung up by sort of some sticks. Pretty much. It's pretty feral. And then it's the slower people who do more walking that are in the sun for longer, on their feet for longer. If you're lucky enough to be able to run a bit quicker, you can then just relax. I say chill out. There's not an awful lot to do when you're there.
Bit of a sandcastle?
Yeah, you could. It's just so hot outside. I hate the heat.
Right. Before you go, Tom, Ultra Tom, did they, when you joined Sandringham,
It's part of the Royal Service.
okay, when you joined Sandhurst,
Yeah.
wanker, did they do a psych evaluation?
No, but I've done some since.
Yeah, I would suggest you're fucking nuts. The casualness in which you're talking about running a double marathon in 45-degree Celsius heat scares me.
I think racing is easy. I imagine it's like playing a rugby match. The actual match is easy. It's the training that's the hard bit when you don't actually really want to be there. You love the match. You love playing in a crowded stadium. The same with racing. I love racing. The only reason I train is because I love racing. And so, yeah, racing is the easy part because there are people watching, people tracking you. So when things get hard, you're able to think, oh, well, I'm doing it for other people. And there's people watching in it and have worked hard to get you there. But it's in training where there's no one watching. You're out on your own, and that's when it's miserable. And I think that's when there's a real mind shift between sort of the good runners and then the very good runners.
There's another aspect to this, Joe, which you need to consider. Let's say when you go down to one of the beaches near Heathfield, you go down the south coast, and there's quite a few stony ones, aren't there, and a few sandy ones.
Well, it only gets sandy when the tide goes out, Tom.
Do you find yourself going faster or slower on the pebbles/sand than you would on the grass?
I go faster on the pebbles going down them.
Yeah.
And then I go slower on the pebbles going up them. So I hope that answers your question.
Ultra Tom, let's talk Joe through the terrain that you're experiencing in the marathon of sand.
So presume you're on the sand.
Yeah, and have you ever walked on the beach with your shoes on
Yes.
and get sand everywhere in your shoes?
No, I've usually got socks on. Oh no, that wouldn't stop the. Yes, I've had sand in my shoes. Yeah.
Yes, you've got that for 250 kilometres, which is quite a lot of
Do you not
back
wear?
and forth on
Do you
each
not
one.
wear like? I saw these things on Instagram the other day, and it's to protect your like say you got a brand new pair of trainers. It's protect them like in bad weather and stuff, and that's just made me think that maybe you should get a pair of them where they're essentially a Veruca sock, but you put it over your shoes.
Yeah.
So then,
So yeah,
and then tie the top to stop the sand going in.
so yeah, you do have those gaiters.
It's not a stupid idea.
No, but it doesn't stop it all coming in.
So what does that do to your feet? What are your feet like? Have you got good feet?
They're pretty rough.
Would you mind popping a foot on the table?
You want to see a foot?
If you don't mind, I'd love to see
I'll
your
get
foot.
I'll get a foot out.
Okay.
Joe, I'd like you to describe this site. Well, in fact, as Ultra Tom is taking off his very nice Adidas trainers, what do you expect to see when the foot goes on the table?
I think like there's going to be a fuck off big arch. And his toes are going to be like off at a right angle, like
90
off at the thing,
degrees.
and quite curled, but not as bad as when they used to wrap Japanese geisha girls' feet. Not as bad as that.
Oh, they're not. I think they're pretty good. It's just the nails, or one nail in particular.
Right, here we go. Right, Joe, give me a reaction.
Oh my god, they're lovely.
Yeah, they're not bad.
They're
nails fall off.
They're
We
a lot.
can't see the nails. Just turn around a little bit.
They're
Oh,
thinner than I thought they were going to be. I thought. Yeah.
oh, I see what you mean. But
Oh,
the big
what's
toe,
happened
where's
to
the
you?
nail gone there?
Yeah, all my nails are really short.
Right.
Uh,
For running purposes.
no,
or
they
'cause
just it's just what they're like.
they grow short.
Yeah,
Oh.
and then the index toe, if that's what you call it, is longer than my big toe, so the toenail always comes off.
To try and give the people listening to this who can't see your foot, the big toe.
Sorry. Got one of our guests put their fucking foot on the table and he's just sat there as casual, like his arm, he's just leaning over like, yep,
This
cool.
is happening. Yeah.
This is great. Please keep going, Tom.
What I was going to say, Joe, is that Ultra Tom's big toenail is about the size of the nail you'd expect to see on a thumb.
I'm surprised at how well your feet look, because surely are they out of all of your body parts, what is the most, surely the feet are the things that you protect the most. Without your feet, you can't function.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, feet are. Yeah, you spend a lot of time, I say, looking after feet, and I think the more you do it, the harder they get. So yeah, you do quite a lot of like gym exercises just for your feet. Like,
Do you do the towel one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good
Scrunching it
one.
up.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
put it on the floor and then you do I just do that for fun, not to strengthen
isn't it?
for anything. It's
Yeah.
just fun.
Look, I thought your feet would be more battered, Ultra Tom.
Yeah.
I also thought Joe was right. You've got a very high arch. I thought you might have a collapsed arch.
I think there's probably a correlation between the better runners who do races and their feet condition and the other people who do the races. I imagine the people who aren't as good have probably got worse feet, but the
Okay.
better runners have got better feet.
I like the way he's describing the better runners. Him. Do you know what I mean?
Ultra Tom.
Really, really humble about it.
Do you want to hear more about injuries, Joe? Because I would. And I think, Ultra Tom, I would like to know, first of all, your own most horrific injury, and then let's do horrific injuries you have seen.
So, of mine too, I was running 4 or 5 years ago and fell over, as you do. And I landed, this is in Kenya, and I landed in a bush, a bastard bush they're called, because the thorns are...
Got no dad.
The thorns are like 2 inches big.
Oh,
And I've still, to this day, got it in my arm. It's sort of healed over it. And if you feel there, you can feel a thorn.
you've
It's
got a thorn in your arm.
Yeah, that's been
Can
there.
we have a look? Just roll up the sleeve of
Fucking
your.
you
take
can't-
it out, man.
You can't see it, but you can feel
I'll
it.
fucking give it a
Have
go.
it go. So we're just looking at your right forearm. It's in his arm, Joe.
That's one of my favourite things to do in this world is make my kids get splinters and then say, let me get that out for you. And I need to take you into the other room and place you on that sofa and get a pair of tweezers and take that out of you. I'm struggling to control that. I'm sorry, but
What would be the technique?
just like both my knees on your shoulders, so like my gussets in your face to knock you out. And then when you're unconscious from my undercarriage, I'll just get my pocket scalpel and I'd attempt to squeeze it out because I like. Do you watch Dr. Pimple?
Yeah,
Popper? Oh,
yeah.
So good, isn't it? I'd attempt to squeeze it and then it wouldn't, and then I'd slowly just pull it out. Then I'd get my non-calloused nutsack and put it on your drum set / forehead to wake you up, and then go, "Hey, Ultra Tom, here's your bastard bush thorn, fucker," and you go,
Thanks. I like the detail that went in.
"Okay, so far, your worst injury is a splinter."
Oh, so that was a fun one.
Yeah.
Last weekend, as running, and you say you look after my feet, I fell again. This is a trend. And I fractured my finger, but it's okay. But my worst injury, which thankfully is fine, I had a lot of runners get problems with their knees. And it's a question I get asked a lot of, oh, is that not really bad for your knees? And I always say, no, it's not. But I did have massive knee surgery last year. My IT band, so the tendon on the side, outside of your leg, was pretty badly damaged. I had torn some cartilage in my knee. I had lots of inflammation of the bursa, and I then had a stress fracture on my femur. So I went to Fortius, which I imagine you've been to a fair few times.
Yep.
Yeah, it was sorted out. So I had 6 weeks on crutches, and this was just over a year ago. And then just slowly got back to it. Yeah, that was a pretty grim injury. Yeah, and just happened over time. That is a classic. You feel something and you think, oh, it will be okay. I'll just run through it. I'll train through it, and just got progressively worse and worse and worse. That then sort of backed myself into a corner and forced myself into having surgery.
So we've spoken about how tough the marathon of des Sables is. Is there part of you that's actually like in awe of the beauty of it? I can imagine you running over these sand dunes and these landscapes and actually going, like you described, being in an arena with all the fans there. I love going to do that, and that's your arena. Surely you're there in awe of all of it.
Yeah, I think it's just one of running is such a relatively basic thing to do. You're going from A to B as quickly as you can, and because you're going such a long way, you get to see so much. And especially in the Sahara, you were miles and miles away from any other people, any towns or anything, and all you can see is just these beautiful vistas. And because you go such a long way that you get to see all these incredible places, all these incredible things. And people describe running 100 miles or ultra marathons as life in a day, and you go through the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. There'll be points where you feel great, points where you feel absolutely horrendous, and you learn a lot about yourself in a relatively short amount of time, and you draw from so much experience from other parts of your life. And then when things just become easy, you don't have to worry about bills, and you haven't got your phone with you, so you're not constantly being asked, oh, can you do this, can you do that? You're just out there on your own, racing other people in nature, in the mountains, and it's just, there is nothing quite like it.
Here's one for you, Joe. You are probably familiar with the South Downs Way because it's not a million miles from Heathfield.
The South Downs Way?
Yeah.
It's just called the South Downs. I don't know why you've put way at the end.
160 kilometres from
Natural
Winchester
beauty
to Eastbourne.
Yeah, Seven Sisters.
So you can mountain bike this, and if you mountain bike it, you have to plan it really carefully because you've got to try and do it between dawn and dusk. So you've got to get all your prep absolutely right. You've got to have all your food with you. You've got to have your spares, blah, blah, and you can just about pull it off. And I did it a number of years ago and was feeling really pleased with myself but very tired when I noticed a lot of people running in the other direction. And I stopped and asked them what they were doing, and they were running the South Downs Way. And if there's one thing that harshes your vibe when you're feeling quite smug about mountain biking the South Downs Way, it's someone running the whole fucking thing.
Was it an electric bike?
I would have done with an electric bike, would have been handy.
It was a legit bike. I would imagine it was probably easier to run it. Surely there's less planning. Is there less? Do you have to plan your trail and your run?
Yeah, and you got to plan like what you're eating and the way that you're going. I think on a bike, and you've got to carry everything with you, so you end up, it's going to take probably longer running. For me, the thing that drew me to doing sort of these ultra races is the planning side of it. It is that sort of that preparation, those, I say sort of tactics, but like in race tactics. What do you do if this goes wrong or if this happens? How much food do I need to eat? And geez, you're eating quite a lot during these races. You go to some, like on the races, there are like checkpoints or aid stations that will have sort of your standard things like water, like isotonic sports drinks. And then you go to ones in France that will have bits of bread, ham and cheese. And so basically a lot of it just becomes like a picnic on the move. So
it's all right, doesn't it?
That sounds much better to me.
That's pretty nice. And so I had, in the race that I did a couple of weeks ago, I had it 3 a.m. because the race takes a long time and it starts at 6 p.m. So you run through the night. Yeah, I had chicken soup at 3 in the morning in the middle of a run.
Let's just get that squared off then. What's your best time for running an ultramarathon?
So for running 100 mile, I did a 100-mile race in California in 2019 that took 14 hours, 59 minutes and 42 seconds.
That is insane.
I'm amazed that you still count the seconds.
It all,
just on
it
your
all
watch.
adds up. It all adds
Yeah, but
up.
when you're running that long, you just go, yeah, half a day.
It's a long old time.
Oh, that is constant. That was like,
Do you want that? Do you want context for that, Joe? So let's say if you run a marathon, as you probably know, if you run a marathon in under 3 hours, that's really, really good going. That's a massive target for a lot of people. So that is fundamentally what Ultra Tom is doing, is pretty much, give or take a few minutes, doing 4 of those back to back.
the way in which you tried contextualising that hasn't helped me, because you just use running for running. That's like sitting and watching 28 episodes of EastEnders on the bounce.
Okay, so an episode of EastEnders is approximately 28 minutes. So in 14 hours, it pretty much is 28 episodes of EastEnders.
I don't want to tell you how to do your job, but
The problem with your EastEnders thing is it just involves sitting and watching, whereas my marathon example involves running. So I thought it might be a bit more useful. But
that's not. You don't have to just sit and watch EastEnders. You could take little snack breaks, as Ultra Tom does, or like tug breaks. Which reminds me, what are you doing with the stuff that's going in when it's time for it to come out? Are you Paula Radcliffe in it?
Number one, my party trick. I can run it 6 minutes a mile, so 3:40. Oh yeah, and we'll use a mile. 6 minutes a mile,
she's good pace.
Yep.
and pee on the move.
You pee when you run.
Yeah,
How do you relax
Just-
the piss muscles?
I've got absolutely no idea, but I can do it.
I'm just trying to wet myself now.
Oh dear. A little bit come out?
Huh?
How much came out?
I'm just trying to like imagine. Like I'm struggling to like do it just sat down. Maybe I'll stand up. Hang on.
You going to do a little dot?
Ryan, is it planned to piss myself?
You're wearing quite a light coloured short today, Joe.
Yeah, I haven't got any spares either. I'll avoid that one. Wow. So your party trick is you can piss and run.
Yeah.
Is there not an issue with the saltiness and the piss adding to the chafing?
It could be if you hadn't perfected the technique.
Do you go out the side of the short, just pop it out the side, or do you go over the top?
Out the side.
Yeah. So it
At
runs
the
down.
top.
Well, you could pull the waistband down, and the waistband would sit at the base of your penis, maybe under your dog.
Yeah, but the waistband would then cut off the tube, the urethra.
A little bit of pressure.
When I wee now, I don't. I'm so fucking lazy. Honestly, I'm just pulling the side of my short out and not even holding it anymore. I just. Is that the technique?
Has it ever
you
run
use?
down your inner thigh?
Oh, most times. Can't
Has
you
it ever
smell
gone
that?
into your sock?
Again, most of the time. So you put. What about the other end? The
normally-
noose.
It normally doesn't happen. Like I'll cut. I think a lot of people think, oh, as a professional athlete, you eat really healthy. Probably, yeah, sort of 2 to 3 days before a race, I'll cut like all fruit and vegetables and fiber out of my diet. So, yeah, you go before the race, and then if you've got everything right, then you don't need to go again.
Is there not a sort of a point where carrying all that extra shit in your gut is an extra weight, whereby if you could have a shit in about 30 seconds, it would be more efficient to lose that weight, stop albeit for 30 seconds, but then crack on slightly lighter?
Crap on.
Yeah, pleased with that?
I don't know. I think with the majority of things you're taking is pretty much just sugar, which your body is digesting almost immediately. So, yeah, I don't think sort of normally for a race like this, I'd probably lose somewhere between 3 and 5 kilos during the race, and the majority of that's water weight. Yeah, I think you're just burning everything that you're putting in.
Ultra Tom, how much do you weigh?
Go into a race at 70, 71 and finish a race at 66.
And you're what's about 6 foot, are you?
6 foot.
Yeah. Joe, if you were to find yourself, and I accept that this is a ridiculous proposal, if you were to find yourself doing an ultra distance race,
Do you speak to your kids like that?
yeah, I'm that patronising, yeah.
Yeah, like dream small, boys, because
Okay.
you'll never fucking achieve this.
So you're running a 100-mile race, Joe, which you've now committed to in the
Oh,
same way that ultra distance Tom did in the pub. What would your shitting strategy be? Would you rather hold the shit in your gut, or would you How efficient could you be if you had to be in ridding yourself of that
Well,
excess
my
weight?
knowledge on the human body is when adrenaline kicks in due to sporting events, or in fact it happens in whenever your adrenaline kicks in, it shuts off the areas that are not needed for that moment. So my gut would just shut off because I'm concentrating on trying to survive with my legs and my feet. Alternatively, I would just put a butt plug into my anus and store it up, or like tight rope around my pants and then just shit in the pant. So like a bigger pant, but then tight around there so it doesn't slip down my thing. And
Like a nappy.
like
That's not the worst idea in
like
nappy,
a
is it?
human-sized nappy, a man-sized nappy, an adult-sized nappy. Fuck, it's 2022. You can't even say man-sized nappy. An adult-sized nappy, I think I would wear. I need a moment to go and order this adult-sized pant. So let's have some adverts. Whilst I do that, please.
Those were the adverts. Ultra Tom, I would like to talk about the toughest events it is possible to do. And I would like to start off with one which is notorious in the endurance world. The first one I'd like to know about, because I was recently sent a book about this, the Barkleys. Tell us about the Barkley.
So the Barkley Marathons is I think it takes running completely back to the roots, and it's not marked. Yeah, there's no routes. There's no official checkpoints. You run to where you've been told to go, and there'll be a tree, and at the bottom of the tree there will be a book, and you have to rip out the page of the book that you have been told to rip out, and you go to the 4 or 5 checkpoints, and then you bring them back to the race director and say, here you go, here they are. And he says, thanks very much. Now it's time to do another loop, and you've got to do exactly the same loop but in reverse, and you've got to do it 4 times, and they say it's about 25 miles each lap, but it's probably more like 30 miles each lap. But I think the craziest thing about this race is no one knows how to get into it. Like, there's no like website where you sign up to it or you say, oh, I want to do this race. You have to send an email to someone on the right day. You have to write an essay handwritten, of why you should be allowed to do this race. And you've got to send that to the right person on the right day. Yeah, it's carnage. I'm sat here, I'd love to do it. But I've got absolutely no idea how to get into it.
And it's 100% real.
100% real.
This isn't like a ultra runner's mythical beast.
They made it actually got really popular because they made like a Netflix documentary out of it.
And this is the Barkleys.
The Barkley, yeah.
The weirdest thing about it for me, Ultra Tom, is that you really don't get many people finishing it.
Hardly ever. There are loads of years that no one finishes the race.
For someone that has no ambition whatsoever to run further than 100 metres at a time, but you describing the Barkleys race, I want to go do it. There's something about it. There's no checkpoint. It's like old school, traditional, just fun.
No GPS. Can't use GPS on your watch.
How do you know where this tree is then?
Just with a map.
I really want someone who listens to this show to be that right person. Why in the fuck would someone who organises the Barkleys running race be listening to this? But I really want to try and everything I can to make you get that opportunity. Is it like the Freemasons, where they've actually taken over the world and they're all lizards and they suck kids' bloods?
It's different in some regards to that, Joe.
Oh.
Yeah, we should definitely try and get Ultra Tom in.
Maybe I know I think I know who I need to speak to.
Really? If you want a hand with the essay, I'm sure you could do a perfectly good job yourself. I'm willing to step in and ghostwrite your essay.
You're a essay ghostwriter now, are you?
I will do, yeah, to get Ultra Tom in, yeah.
That's really kind of you.
Yeah,
You
thank
mean
you.
that as well, don't you?
Yeah.
You really do mean
Yeah.
that. Fuck, this is what I love about this show. We can actually help each other out. I like it. What is the worst terrain you've ever run on or have to run on?
So there is a race called the Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc, it starts in Chamonix in France and is 108 miles long with 10,000 meters of ascent and descent.
What?
And if you put that in, you look at a stage of the Tour de France, there's no stage that's anywhere near 10,000 meters in. Yeah, and the distance is further, so it's steep. And on that, you might be running over sort of football-sized rocks that move when you step on them, to mud, to snow. It might be wet, it might be dry. The conditions always change, and I think sort of things can happen and things can change so quickly. It can be warm 1 minute when you're in the valley, and then an hour later it's midnight and you're at the top of a mountain and it's snowing. So yeah, I think that's pretty tough. But there is nothing like the UK in the winter, like running through bogs, and is just, yeah, that's probably the hardest.
Joe, are you aware of the Self-Transcendence 3100? Because I think you're going to like this one.
It's funny you bring that up, Tom. I have no idea what it is.
Ultra Tom, can we explain the horrors and the joys, please?
3,100-mile race in New York around one block. And it goes on and on for months.
What?
And you have to do a certain amount every day. And if you finish it is when you're supposed to sort of reach peak.
That sounds like the worst fun anyone's ever come up with. Just around a block. But when you say block, do you mean like a block of buildings?
Yeah,
One block of buildings,
yeah,
you just run round it.
yeah.
Can you run round it the other way to change it up some days?
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Okay, but it's just this one block
Yeah,
for 3,100
miles.
miles.
You've got 52 days to do it, Joe, so you have to average pretty much 60 miles a day. You can only do it between the hours of 6 in the morning and midnight as well. So you have to get your 60 miles done between 6 in the morning and midnight pretty much every day for 52 days.
That sounds like monotonous pain.
I think, Ultra Tom, this is where we need to get into the thrills and the joys of it, because when you are an ordinary runner and your long run is 10, 13 miles, you will get to a state at the end of that where most runners will say that they always feel better after a run. Whatever your mental state when you begin a run, unless you are to get a catastrophic injury on your run, you always feel better afterwards. But I think the thing that intrigues us ordinary runners about the ultras is how much more of a running high you get when you go to your distance.
There is that sort of self-realization that you are able to do so much more than you think. And sort of without going too sciencey, there is a theory called the self-governance theory that your brain will always look after itself. So you can, and sort of your mind will give up before your body gives up. And I think with sort of huge challenges like this, it's showing yourself how far you can push yourself and try and find your actual limit. And yeah, so I think with self-transcendence, it's not necessarily, yes, it's obviously a huge physical challenge, but it's way more of a mental challenge. I think if you're able to achieve that mentally, that then just opens so many doors for you, because no matter what venture you then decide to go into, if you've proven to yourself that you're able to run 3,100 miles or a 100-mile race in the mountains, there are so many transferable skills from that. You then think, oh, well, you get back home to normality, and something that might be difficult to do normally and you can't really be bothered to do, you think, oh, well, actually, I've done so much more. I've suffered way more mentally, and I've proven to myself that I'm capable of doing that physically and mentally. And I'd sort of describe ultra running as it's probably 70% mental. The mental strength and the highs and lows that you go through, you then finish and you're like, yeah, your mind has run it for you. And yes, physically you have to be fit and you've got to do lots of training and you've then got to race hard, and it is hard on your body, but mentally it's so tough. But then I think that then makes it far more rewarding when you're then finished.
Have you found your limit, both physically and mentally?
I think there are times where I've convinced myself I found my limit, but I think if you think you found your limit, it means you haven't.
Have you ever reached the point of physical exhaustion where you've just collapsed?
Yeah, I passed out when I was running. I had a virus I didn't know about and sort of exposed itself when, I was sort of struggling and my core body temperature rose. And my body just shut down, and my brain forced my body to shut down, so my brain was okay. And that's the theory I was speaking to earlier, because your brain is selfish and will look after itself and will shut things in your body down. Like we said earlier, when your gut stops working and organs that you don't really need to work stop working when the adrenaline kicks in. And this is the theory. So I think there are some people who are able to sort of, and people say like, oh, you can push through the pain. And I think that's one thing that I'm able to do better than a lot of people. I don't think physically I'm more talented than a lot of other runners, but I have the ability to just suffer and keep pushing hard and hard, whether I'm running or I'm doing anything else physical, that you can just keep going when the easy thing to do is stop. But I just have that stubbornness to just keep going, I guess.
Joe, I'm not going to put any limitations on you. I'm not going to say you're never going to do an ultra distance run of 100 miles. All I'm going to say is you're not going to do it right now. You're not going to begin now in the studio. So we're going to try and create the circumstances where we can see at which point you would give up. So Ultra Tom, if we can come up with an escalating list of physical and mental horrors that Joe might go through if he were to experience a 100-mile race, and we'll see, Joe, at which point you're waving the white flag. So maybe we can start off with some severe nipple chafing. How bad could this get, Ultra Tom?
Yeah, if you don't take the necessary precautions.
Which is what? A bit
tape.
of Vass?
No.
Oh, tape.
Oh, Vass, great for an hour maybe, but yeah, 20 hours in, yeah, you're going to be struggling.
So I need some tit tape.
Yeah, you need some tape. But yeah, I've seen blood on both sides. Yeah, not a good look.
It's not a great start for me, if I'm honest.
You got very sensitive nipples.
Yeah, I really enjoy nipple play.
Do you?
Yeah, and if that was to go away from me, fuck. Okay, no, I'll let that go. Yeah, I'm ploughing on through. I've not given up yet.
So you could be wearing a white running vest, a white T-shirt. It
Mhm.
might look like 2 Japanese flags. Just big red circles of blood.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I can live with that. Let's go.
Next privation at Ultra Tom. What about if Joe is struggling with his gut, which obviously happens to people in long story. You started shitting yourself, just rusty water running down your leg.
It's unlikely to happen because the day before the run, I would have done a litre of ayahuasca, and that would have helped with the whole purge system. But with what's left and it's coming out, and I've got shit going down my leg, again, not a biggie for me. I can deal with shit. I'm quite happy with that. I can deal with piss. I piss myself a lot. I've done it on the pitch, and it's actually quite warming. So I'm fine so far. I'm sticking with being an ultra runner.
So he's still going. Ultra Tom, the next horror, please, for Joe.
Toenails coming off mid-run is pretty miserable. And yeah, from your foot hitting the front of your shoe, that then the bed of your toenail comes up through the skin, and your toenail then comes off, and you can feel it in between. It's actually come off, and you feel it in between your toes. So now you're getting a blister because your toenail has come off and is now rubbing on one of your other toes.
Not great. That's not great. It's making me feel bad now, and I'm sat down on my fat ass. No, I'm fine because I'll just take a couple of codeines and the pain will go. It'll go. I'm still going on. This is fucking piece of piss so far.
Right, let's ramp it up a bit, Ultra Tom.
You've been running. You started in the morning. You've now been going for 10 hours, and it's now night time, and you're reaching into your bag and you're pulling a head torch out, and you're now running up the side of a mountain with a head torch. It's snowing. You can't see a thing because the light is just reflecting back off the snow.
Is that a legit condition you've run in?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't think I could do it.
That's your point.
No, the 10 hours bit. There's no way I'm going for 10 hours on anything. I don't even fucking sleep for 10 hours, mate. Like, okay, because I'm obviously doing it for charity. I'll plough on through. That's fine. Yeah, it'll be a bit squinty. I might put sunglasses on so the reflection doesn't. I'm fine. I'm ploughing on through. I've got this.
You're getting even more and more tired, so then the hallucinations start.
This is what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
I've been telling you for
You
weeks how much I want to do ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And who needs to do ayahuasca when I could just do self-exhaustion instead and I'm hallucinating?
What sort of hallucinations might Joe expect, Ultra Tom?
A lot of the time it's thinking that someone else is there with you, and you end up having a conversation with them, but it's to yourself. Or you see that there's one I had was I thought climbing up this mountain, and I thought that there was a massive castle on top of the mountain. And I was so sure it was there, and I'd seen it. I'd planned, right, I'm going to go in. I've run out of food and water, so I'm going to go in.
And there's some sort of banquet and feast going on.
And that's what I thought was happening. And I got to the top, and there was nothing.
No castle there.
No castle at all. Just a lot of misery.
I quite like creepy shit like that. I like hallucinations. I'm still running. This is the life for me.
This is almost the same conversation that I had in the pub before I signed up.
Unlucky.
So here we go.
The only issue I think I'm going to have is halving my body weight. When you said you're 71 or something, you get down to 66 after. That's half of my body weight. I can't see. The last time I was 66 kilos, I was 9. I was 9. I can't see physically how I'm going to get down to that weight. Are there any ultra runners that are 100 kilos maybe?
Not professional ones, but there are so many. There are so many people who can do it because they want to challenge themselves. It's less about physical and it's more about the mental state. And I guess the things that we've just gone through of why it's going to get hard, they're very manageable. Yes, physically it's going to be hard. There's no denying that. And no matter who you are, what your body shape is, what your sporting experiences are, physically it's going to be hard. But then for everyone, mentally, it's going to be really hard. And I guess it's a short day to find how tough you are. And I think it's a huge equalizer for people because everyone can train, and training is great. You might train 3 or 4 hours a day, whatever. You're only going to find out how mentally tough you are 20 hours into a race. And the vast majority of people never get to find out how tough they are, and they can sort of say, oh yeah, I've done this and I've done that, and you're still sleeping in your own bed at night. But then, the ability to be able to run through the whole night and running, like we said, it's relatively basic. So many people can do it and are able to do it. And there have been people, when I did Marathon des Sables I did it for a charity for Walking the Wounded, and there's a guy called Duncan Slater who is a double leg amputee who did it. And it is significantly harder for him to just finish than it is for someone like myself to finish on the podium. So for me, I find it super inspiring when there's people like that who are doing exactly the same thing physically, but mentally are just harder than a woodpecker's beak.
Really caught me off guard, that last one.
It's thrown you.
My biggest takeaway from this is that your mind is going to give up before your body. Is that what you're saying to me?
100%.
I just love the thought of it now, that anyone can go out, and not anyone, that's definitely not the point I'm making, but anyone can go out there and test their mind, irrelevant of what physical shape they're in.
And I think that's physically now, you could do it, 100%. Whether you were running or walking, you could now, if you decided, right, I'm going to walk, I'm going back home, and you went back to Heathfield, you could do it. You can learn so much about yourself and then put that into practice with other aspects of your life.
Do you want further inspiration, Joe, if you needed it after that stirring speech? Heathfield, your hometown, has already produced a world-class ultra-distance runner.
Not my Heathfield, but the same Heathfield that I live in. You're from Heathfield?
Yeah, cross in hand, actually. But
what? Is this a wind-up?
Nope.
Did you know this?
Yeah.
How did you know this?
Because we talked about it.
You live in Cross in Hand?
Yeah.
What now?
Yeah.
Where?
Next door to Rag and Bone Man.
What the fuck? Is this a wind-up? Are you just saying that because you've heard me say Rag and Bone Man lives in Heathfield?
No.
So surely I've seen your face before.
Yeah, we've been in the gym at the same time.
What?
Yeah. I used to be really impressed when you would walk into Eisenhurst Country Club and bring your own weights in.
Hang on a minute. You live in Cross in Hand?
Yeah.
You grew up where?
In Cross in Hand.
This is a fucking wind-up, mate. You've given him all the information.
Ultra Tom, give us one of Jasper's best mates' names, please.
Rafe.
I must have said that on the show.
Rafe is my nephew.
What's this doing for your trust issues?
Not fucking good. Rafe's your nephew.
Yeah.
I've never seen a man look so astonished, Joe Marler, as you currently look.
I'm fucking livid. It was something twigged earlier.
Oh, now you say it.
No. When you said Heathfield, I for a second went, have I said Heathfield? How does he know where I live? I've obviously said it on the show, and that was the thing. It was the confidence in which you said Heathfield. You live in Cross in Hand, next to Rag and Bone Man.
Yeah.
You've grown up in Heathfield.
Yeah.
Did you go to the comp?
No.
Yeah, this is what thrown me, because he talks good. You talk good. So where'd you, Eastbourne College?
Yeah.
Right. This makes sense now.
I think the last time I saw you was, I think it was in Gover's gym.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 years ago.
I don't know.
I don't think I've ever seen you like this, Joe.
Because it's weird. It's cool that we're from the same place. It's also a little bit sad.
Why?
Because we're from the same place and we haven't really connected before. It's taken us to sit down on a podcast to actually connect. For me to go, I've met this guy and he's really cool. I like him. I'd quite like to enjoy a beverage. Ultra Tom, what is the furthest you have ever run?
In one go,
Yeah.
108 miles.
108 miles. And is that the same time length, as in, did it take you 14 hours? What was your record for as long as you could run?
That took 20 hours.
Oh, fuck me dead. Okay. As impressive and as inspirational as that is, it ain't got shit on Forrest Gump, who ran for 3 years, 2 months, 14 days, and 6 hours. Can you guess the distance of which he got in that time?
4,863 miles.
For some reason, I thought I'd be more impressed by this. I'm underwhelmed. He ran 15,248 miles.
When you say you're impressed, let's just
I'm
stress
not
we're talking
impressed.
about a fictional character here.
Yeah, but it was based on a true story.
Yeah, but that's not the exact mileage that.
Well, it is, because it's written down here. That's the fucking miles I've been given.
I think to denigrate what Ultra Tom achieved in his 108 miles by comparing him to a fictional character,
It was based on a true story.
the whole of Forrest Gump,
Most of it.
which bits?
The bit where he became good at ping pong.
Yeah.
The Bubba Gump ship section. And they actually worked it out that's what he would have run.
Oh, he would have run.
I don't know if the Jedi bit was
Are you
real.
a fan of that film?
I was, but because it's on all the time, and you end up chucking it on, and I'm now kind of like, move on. I like trolls now.
Ultra Tom, have you found? I think most runners have been through a point where they're going for a perfectly pleasant run, and some bell end will start shouting about Forrest Gump at them.
Yeah, quite a lot. It's sort of just that classic. If it was role reversal and I wanted to shout at someone, that's what I would shout.
Have at any point you not like chucked loads of mud on your face and then got a yellow t-shirt and put it on your face to try and see if that works?
Not
Where
yet.
they do no, you're gonna do it.
It's a possibility.
Okay. Okay. So we've gone from a fictional character. Here's a non-fictional character for you.
A real one.
Do you know who holds the longest non-stop run by a human being?
No.
Ultra Tom.
No, I
Don't know. His name is Dean Canazes.
Oh, yeah.
Canazes. Have you heard of that?
Yeah,
Oh, is he a runner?
yeah.
Oh, is he a good one?
He used to be very, very good.
How far did he run non-stop?
I'm going to go second to Ultra Tom because Ultra Tom will lead me close to target. Ultra Tom, how far do you think?
No, I'm asking you first.
Oh, fuck's sake. Dino ran, bearing in mind that Ultra Tom's longest run is 108 miles. I know that Dean has written a number of books that have blown the minds of non-runners as well as runners. I'm going to say he ran for 232 miles.
And the time?
I'm going to say that took him 61 hours, 30 minutes and 24 seconds.
Ultra Tom, what's your guess?
I'm going to go 233 and 62 hours.
He nil points all round, meaning no points. He ran 350 miles non-stop, and it took him 80 hours and 44 minutes.
So quick.
Fucking fair fucks. He's just all bone. I'd say he's 40 kilos at most.
Imagine his testicles.
What?
The dog's paw effect.
Why am I imagining the dog paw testicles now? Actually, I can't stop imagining it. It's like red bears, red bears, red bears. Dog paw testicles, dog paw testicles, dog paw testicles.
That was really good.
Quite a mouthful.
He looks very pleased.
I am very pleased. Ultra Tom, you are brilliant. You've been an inspiration on a topic that I thought I would have very little interest on because I despise running. The way you've described it and actually the mental side of it is quite inspirational. And I think you're brilliant.
Thank you. I think it's a brain trainer instead of a physical exercise more.
I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.